All right, we're in it. We're 2 minutes. We're 2 minutes early, so I don't want to start the full discussion. I want to get a chance for people to trickle in. But you know what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Avatar versus The Legend of Korra.
Well, why is it gotta be versus?
Well,
Why can't we just talk about both?
I put versus. We are going to talk about both of them, but there's going to be a lot of comparing and contrasting between the two. So it really is versus. It just is what it is. We're discussing both of them, and we're going to go a little in depth with it because I have a lot of things that I want to talk about with it too. That's not necessarily about comparing the two of them, but I'd like for us to be able to, compare and contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, reintroductions for everybody here, even though some of you guys are already known as having been on here more than once. So, in the top left, we have Darnel.
What up, though?
Top right, we have Malika.
Hi, guys.
And at the bottom right, we have some no-name guy whose channel you're not on. I'm Mikie. And we are Nerds in the Dark. And welcome to a NerdTable discussion. This specifically is Avatar: The Last Airbender versus Legend of Korra. Although Malika doesn't like the versus word. She's like, nah, don't do that.
I don't like the versus word. It's like when people say, oh,
yo, Professor
this
Pressure.
actress and this actress, or this actor and this actor.
Mm-hmm.
We don't gotta fight. We don't gotta, versus. We can just get along. They're both great in their own ways.
I'm kind of mad. I just noticed I put a typo in the bot's auto chat. We're a professional outfit. We're a professional outfit. All right. Yes. So, you guys, of course, have seen all of Avatar, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And read the comics? Yes or no?
Yes. No. But mostly just the Korra comics, and I think I've read one of the Avatar ones.
Okay. I have not read all of the comics, so my knowledge on some of that is limited. Most of it. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's go based on the shows.
Okay.
Let's do a quick rundown of the series. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Your thoughts on it?
Avatar. Let's fucking. You go, miss.
You go. Are we talking about lore, like what it's about, or just our thoughts?
So, as a show, generally, you enjoyed it. Okay.
Yeah, I felt like it was a wholesome, family show that had a bit of darker moments that when I was younger I didn't appreciate until I was able to rewatch it as an older adult.
Okay. Darnel?
I thought it was a fun show that I really enjoyed. It's pretty fucking timeless. I can rewatch that multiple times and not hate my life.
I agree with that.
And not be judged.
Yeah, it's a show that I've watched several times when it recently came out on Netflix. It was funny because it seemed like a bunch of people were just discovering it for the first time, and then Netflix was like, yo, you want to continue where you left off? I'm like, of course, because it's not the first time it was on Netflix.
Right.
And then when Legend of Korra came on, that was also good, and I can rewatch Legend of Korra almost as much as I can rewatch Avatar, which brings us into Legend of Korra. How do you feel about Legend of Korra compared to do you still feel the same way? Does the show give you the same emotions?
I feel like Legend of Korra was definitely darker for me, and I also feel like it was done dirty because there wasn't that amount of continuity that Avatar: The Last Airbender had.
Okay.
Because Atla had a storyline that was continuous throughout the seasons, whereas each season of Legend of Korra was completely different.
Right. So
I like the fact that it was different.
Yeah. And so what Malika's talking about, for anybody who is not aware, is that when Avatar: The Last Airbender was created, it was created with 3 seasons in mind. So they had an overarching villain. They had themes that lasted each arc for each season, and they have an overarching villain for the entire series. Whereas Legend of Korra was planned out one season at a time. They were only signed on for one season, so that meant that they only were able to do they were only able to plan it around each season. So each season had a different villain, so it had a very different feel in the series as far as continuity was going. And Darnell, what were your thoughts?
I like the fucking fact that each season was a little different, although the little details in each season was kind of sad. But I like the fact that like there wasn't like a main problem. Each like something that carried on from fucking 1, carried on to 2, carried on to 3. But more so, the only thing they carried on was like their own personal issues, which in facing those problems, but not necessarily the actual villain.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Actually, I like the fact that there were different there were different villains, and I think that it's definitely a different feel. So I don't necessarily treat it the same way. However, I think that there's a much different theme in Legend of Korra that deals with consequences, both consequences of Aang's actions as well as the consequences of her actions, which allows us to grow as we watch it, because we get to realize that, you know, it's not a scenario where there's a happy ending. You don't beat the big bad and suddenly everything's better. And I think I like that theming in Korra.
Oh, definitely. I feel like it wasn't for Korra. I feel like it wasn't as easygoing or as lighthearted as it was for the gang, Aang and the gang.
Now, is that your phone going off? Yeah. Her phone's vibrating. I keep hearing this dun, dun. Yeah.
It's my phone. It's my phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
This girl don't believe in silence.
Let me silence it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Why don't you do silent? Damn, girl. She got it on.
Look.
She got it on vibrate. We asked for silence. She's that one that's in the theaters and they're like, we don't mean vibrate, we mean silent. All right. In all serious now.
Right.
So you said that you felt the gang wasn't as serious.
I feel like it was easier for them. Like, yeah, they had serious moments, but I feel like Avatar: The Last Airbender as a whole was more funny and easygoing and lighthearted.
Okay.
Like, they had serious things happen. There were episodes where things got really serious and emotional. But for the most part, I feel like most of the episodes were there to be fun. It was a kid's show.
So you're saying that, like, you're saying that Avatar was very family friendly while Korra grew up a bit, in a sense.
Right.
I can see that. I can see that. Now, Darnell, you think that despite being grown up a bit more, the cast of Legend of Korra, they're all trash, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. They're a bunch of little whiny little twats.
Now, looking at Malika's face, she does not agree with it.
Those are some strong words.
Like, the cast of Korra is significantly older than the cast of Avatar. Like,
right.
Avatar was like 12 when he was going through his thing. And like, Korra's group are like 15 and older when they're doing their thing. I feel like like Aang and gang handled it way better as a bunch of 12-year-olds than some fucking 15-year-olds who are like some dudes who live on the street.
Yo, we just got raided. Gia, thank you for the raid. She raided us with 9 people. Wow, and she's hosting for 15. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Do a little raid dance. Thank you so much. We're out here discussing Legend of Korra. Hey STI, how's it going? We're discussing Avatar and Legend of Korra, and Darnell was saying that everybody was trash in there. And Professor Pressure said you need some light, but it's not light. He actually has a lot of lights in that place. He's just not unlocked yet.
Yeah. Get the viewer count up, and then I'll be unlocked.
All right, so Darnell, you weren't done calling the team trash yet.
Stop.
Oh yeah, okay. So Team Korra is being trash. Like, how are we all a bunch of like 15-year-olds and older, like not be able to handle y'all situations? Like, Avatar was like 12 when he fucking got in the mix. By the end of the mix, he's like 14, and like, cool, they was handling business, and like fucking Katara, she's fucking had training her entire life to how to fucking deal with the shit. And then like, you got the people who are used to fucking from the ghetto, used to living on the street. They know how rough shit is. They should be able to fucking handle themselves. And every time some shit goes off, they get fucking tricked. Like, oh no, I can't believe this happened. Like, how do you not know this shit happens, motherfucker? You got training. Get it together.
Okay, first off, Bolin, as much as I love him, as much as he is just an amazingly shining light, he is a himbo. So you can't fault him for trusting someone and then being like, what? Because that's his character. That is him.
Gia says
he is cute, he's sweet, but he is dumb as a bag of bricks.
Gia says training your whole life and having actual bad experience are two different things. Of course Aang's group could apply the shit. They were literally fighting for their lives. Also, Darnell, to your point, Avatar Aang was like 12. I think Katara was like 14, with Sokka being like 15. Zuko was the oldest at 17. He was the most immature. And in Korra, I think the youngest person is 16. I think Bolin is 16. Yeah. So they're all older. So I agree with your point that they should be like more on their shit, although they don't have battle experience. But against what Gia says, they're members of a battle team, right? So
yeah.
So that's something that I think is like very fighting as a unit. Right. So they're used to fighting together as a group, not for their lives, but they are used to fighting. So I think it's interesting that team isn't the same as fighting in war. No, you're absolutely right, but like some of their skills that they have do apply in ways that show that they were just as skilled, if not more skilled, than members of the gang. For example, Mako can both shoot and redirect lightning, which is something that Zuko could not do until the end of the series.
True, I'll give you that.
And he was on that from jump.
But also, we also have to take into account that this is many years later. So technologies have evolved. People's fighting stances, people's powers and abilities have evolved. There's a lot more metal benders. There's a lot more lightning benders, blood benders. There was a whole situation with Amon being able to take people's bending away. So everything has evolved and it's gotten harder than they were for the gang.
Mm.
So I feel like the Korra gang, I feel like they're dealing with more things than Aang had to deal with in his time.
Sure. So
I don't know. Like having your whole unit have wake up with genocide seems like a fucking bigger thing to deal with.
That is a hard thing to deal with, definitely.
Fight and flight isn't popping up in non-land for death situations. Hell, Bolin could lava bend.
What was that?
Gia responded, yes, but fight and flight isn't popping up in non-life or death-threatening situations. Hell, Bolin could lava bend. Like, he didn't even know he could lava bend. And then he just did it. Yeah. And he was like, they're like, whoa, you could lava bend. He's like, I know. I just found out. So I think that the gang went through a lot more, and I think they mastered some skills fairly quickly. Because we should also point out that most of Avatar takes place within 1 year. I don't know if I don't know how long
Yes.
of a time span, but it's in 1 year for the Last Airbender, and Legend of Korra takes place over a period of 4 years.
Hmm.
With a time jump, there's like a year between season 1 and season 2. Season 2 and 3, I think, is only like 6 months, and season 4 takes a 3-year skip.
Right.
So by the end of the series, they are all adults.
Yeah.
So I do think that in some instances, the Team Avatar, I'm going to call them Team Avatar A and Team Avatar B. So Team Avatar A learns skills in an incredibly short period of time, which I think lends credence to Gia's like fight or flight. They're fighting for their lives. They have to learn on the go, or they could die.
Right.
Like Sokka's sword skill mastery came in like no time at all.
Yeah.
Toph's ability to metal bend. That was a quick thing.
Mm-hmm. Gia says, you got a bunch of adults in Korra who have been applying their powers to actually quelling people, and some teens who the most fighting they did was in tournaments. That aside, I think Korra's growth was more substantial. Okay. I do agree with Korra's growth being more substantial. I think we see more character growth in Korra than in any other character, except for maybe Zuko, and that's
Right.
that's a close one. She went from being a spoiled brat to actually having to consistently fight and try to make adult situations, which she jacked up constantly. Yep, that goes into what we were talking about earlier, just before you rated us. That the show more adequately deals with the consequences of actions, and how she can make a mistake. So speaking of mistakes, and speaking of something that we talked about, just Malika just touched on, but I wanted to talk about. Is Amon's ability to take bending away wasn't actually bending benders, but he was using water bending, so it wasn't permanent, right? Because Korra could undo it. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of the fact that Korra didn't undo it for everybody?
Who did she not do it for?
Well, we know for sure she didn't do it for the mob bosses, but we don't see her in the same way that we see Amon having an entire line of people where he's just constantly taking their bending away when Korra's on the run. We only see her give bending back to one person. Gia says Zuko was the MVP of the Last Airbender. What was that?
Yeah, we see her give there's like a group of people where she gives back the fucking chief's powers.
Yeah, the chief is the only one there. They were testing it.
No, there's other vendors out in the landing.
Those are other people. Those are other people that still had their powers. That was like
No,
it was like Tenzin and Mako and
yeah, that was standing on the landing, in the field. This one, there was a bunch of people standing in the field, but I will give you that the mob bosses, but also they're mob bosses, so
yeah, but
I mean,
so why?
We don't know for certain if she did or didn't give everyone back their bending powers, and even at that.
So we know for sure. We know for sure that she didn't do it for the mob bosses because they tried to use it. They tried to use that as a negotiating tool. Now, here's the thing. Why do you think, right? If they are mob bosses, right, and they're known criminals, right?
Yeah.
You would think that they would be in jail if they were known criminals, right? So why doesn't she give them their powers back if they're not going to jail?
Okay.
Well, it's she they did something bad, but you can't prove it in the court of law. I didn't take your shit, but I'm also not going to give you your shit back either.
So does that make the
also we've seen how well the prison system works in Legend of Korra.
Sure, but
it
I mean,
really
so
doesn't.
The thing is, if Korra has to play by the rules, right? Why does she get to make that choice? I'm really trying to be like just kind of stirring the pot a little bit, but
right.
because here's the thing: if she's not empowered, like, well, so remember when she first gets to Republic City, and she gets arrested, right? Because she's not empowered to make decisions like that part. She's not empowered to like stop crime, because she's gonna cause property damage and all that stuff, whatever. So if she's not empowered to stop crime, why is she empowered to make the choice as to whether or not people get to keep their bending?
But like, she didn't make the choice to take it away, so that's not on her.
She made the choice not to rectify it, right? Like, why should she be forced to give people back bending? She shouldn't be forced. But I'm saying, why does she get to make the choice? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't she just say like all these people, like, because Amon terrorized all these people? We don't have proof that she gave the bending back to everybody, because we know specifically that she didn't give it to some. So when did she, like, how did she make her choice?
Did she make the choice alone, though, is the question. Because, like you said, she did have to answer to other people.
And
a lot of the times, she did have to answer to the president.
The president did not exist at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, he was after that.
He was, yeah. But still, like, there's other people that she did have to answer to.
So she...
It wasn't just I can make all these decisions by myself.
I feel like when somebody hurts you, like that dude had a history of like hurting her friends or hurting people she knew.
Yeah.
Kind of like, hey, yeah, well, I know for a fact that you hurt some people, so I'm not going to be nice to you. Like, it sucks that bad thing happened to you, but also I'm not going to help you.
So Gia says, if no one is coming to her to get it back, why would she have to go out searching for everyone? I mean, that's fair. She shouldn't have to go look, but at the same token, right? Why, if no one wanted to join the Airbenders, why did she go search them out? Like,
because they're
like, well, that's the thing. Does she have the onus to do good in the world or not?
Oh yeah, like that. But like, you're comparing like two different things though.
Wasn't Lynn the only one who came to her to get her bending back? Well, I don't know. They don't show it. It's off camera. So we're debating stuff that's off camera. That's really dumb.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you're comparing two things that are different things. One's genocide, and the other was just like there's not going to be any other firebenders. Like, there's a shit ton of other firebenders, so there's no duty to restore firebenders. And like, she already knows that he's an asshole. So it's like.
But if her job is to bring balance to the world, and this man unbalanced the world by removing a lot of bending, wouldn't the onus be on her to restore balance?
Yeah, but it's not like there's a fucking there's not a disparity of fucking firebenders. That's the thing. You're acting like he wiped out the entire fire nation. He took out He took out some people. He didn't wipe out enough to fucking make sure they don't exist anymore.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like you're comparing a city size versus a fucking entire nation.
Search. Gia says, didn't the search for the Airbenders who awakened because she was being impatient with Aang's son teaching her? No.
No.
So that, well, it happened as a result of her fight with Unalaq and leaving the portals open for the spirit world.
Yeah. When she chose to open them, that's when everybody got powers.
So, yeah, with that... Professor Precious says he's lost because he didn't watch Legend of Korra. All right. So in season 2 of Legend of Korra, at the end, they're trying to stop an event from happening, and when that event happens, and both portals unlock, the result was that there was a new generation of Airbenders born, both spiritually and like generationally. I don't know how it exactly works, but basically the power of the spirits allowed a new balance of Airbenders. So Korra went out looking.
I don't really talk about Korra being overly aggressive with people trying to make them airbenders. Like,
oh yeah, she got super aggressive, didn't she? She tried to drag that dude out who was like, I don't want to do it.
yeah, the mama's boy.
Okay, the mom was like, "Get him the fuck out my house," and she was like, "Bet."
So, like, if you're gonna talk about like things that she should have done, that'd be the better argument because, like, hey, yeah, like, hey, I have a choice of whether or not I want to fucking not be a piece of shit. Right? Like, he's a guy at his mama's house. What?
Gia says, I thought I remembered her going to learn from others because she was impatient AF.
She went to go learn
yes.
from her uncle.
She went to learn spirit bending from Unalaq because Unalaq tricked her and everyone else by making everyone think that he was the only one who could help with the spirits.
Well, actually, that's not trick. He was dishonest about his intentions of doing it. He was the only one who could teach her spirit bending.
But he also summoned those spirits, though.
Yeah, but
the
he's
initial
also
ones that attacked.
Yeah, but he's honest with his intentions. Like, hey, I'm gonna teach you how to handle these things.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I started a fire just so I can fucking show you I can put out the fucking fire. It doesn't change the fucking fact that I'm the only one. I'm better at putting out fires.
I mean, that is true that he was the only one that knew how to do that and how to teach her.
Like, it did come to the realization that Tenzin didn't even have a connection to the spirit world.
Yeah,
because Tenzin wasn't the one who helped her. It was
Yeah, it was Jinora.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Jinora is like the silent MVP of the series, I think.
She is so underrated.
Yeah, I really appreciate Jinora and her growth. In kind of like everything. I think from season 2 on, I think she played a really good role. And I think she did really well.
Got the tattoo?
Huh?
When she got that tattoo, like, ooh.
Oh yeah, oh dude, I loved it when she got the tattoo. Yeah. All right, so one thing I'd like to contrast with Avatar versus Legend of Korra. So we're talking a lot about Korra right now and her mistakes. So a lot of people dislike Korra because she's reckless, impatient, and makes a lot of bad decisions. You know, very impulsive. But a lot of people love Toph, and she's exactly the same way. So why do you think? So
was Aang at points too. There were definitely points where there were parts where Aang was also equally reckless.
Yeah, I mean,
because if we remember when he was learning to fire,
when they put a muzzle on Appa.
No, even before that, when he was learning to firebend, when he was first learning to firebend, he was impatient, and that resulted in Katara getting burned.
Yeah. Which also results in her learning how to heal.
Okay.
I mean, that showed a lot of conveniences.
Like, they were moody little kids.
Let's see, Gia says a lot of people disliked her because she broke the link to the past avatars. I mean,
technically, Aang would have as well if it wasn't for Katara. Aang would have as well if it was not for Katara.
You know what's interesting is, like, if I think that it's weird that people would dislike her for that, like losing the link, because that's something that happened to her and not something she did, right?
Right.
Like Rava was fucking dragged out of her. Like I'd never seen nobody do that before, where somebody was just like, yo, let me yank this spirit out you and beat the shit out of it. Like I'm just start whipping it. Like, how could she prepare for that? There's no way.
She couldn't.
So like I get like being mad that the connection was lost, but I can't be mad at Korra for it.
Right.
She could have been a better fighter, but like that dude also shown that he knew his shit in some shit. Yeah. So
also
it wasn't like she was going against some random dude.
So one thing that I thought was funny is like everybody's like, oh man, she doesn't know her shit, but then like she just instantly just fucking, she's like, let me meditate inside this tree, and she's like, I'm a fucking giant woman. She's like, Theo, get the fuck back over here. I'm gonna kick your ass. She guesses the complaints I've heard is that if she wouldn't have put herself into the position in the first place.
But like, let's talk about that. She was manipulated into that place in the beginning. Like, she thought that she had
her uncle.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a whole thing too, is like she trusted her uncle, you know, and it ended up being like, so it's a weird thing, right? Because I thought it was very interesting in a couple aspects. So one is Korra is necessary to the plot of season 2, right? Like,
yes.
like she's necessary for the villain's plan. So why didn't she just leave?
Because you gotta have that fucking like people like she saw that mentality of like, hey, I have to fight.
Because like once she finds out that he's bad and he needs her to open the portal, all she has to do is just fucking not show up. Professor Pressure's lost. All right, so let's go back to Last Airbender, okay?
Okay.
And let's talk a little bit about Toph, because Toph is 100% one of my favorite characters, which is also why Korra is one of my favorite characters, right? But it's interesting how people love her, but hate Korra. And do you think it's because they give her a pass because she's blind?
I don't think it's that. I just think she cries less. So like her moodiness is more just like fucking meanness. Like, hey, shut the fuck up and put some dirt in your fucking face and work it out. Versus Korra just kind of cries.
Do you think? Well, I'll disagree with you on that, because I think that Korra does have times where she cries, but Korra also goes through extremely traumatic things at the times where she does cry, and I think that there are times where Toph cries as well. There's a big thing about Toph being like overconfident because she's afraid of things. You know, she puts on a brave face, but she's also really soft as well. So
they learned.
It's a really weird thing, because, you know, like if you look at the scenes where Korra cries, right? Just this, when the fuck did Korra cry? All right, so she cries a couple times in the show. One is when she gets jumped by Amon. She's like, "Yo, come fight me in this place alone. Like, I ain't scared of you." And she shows up and he jumps her because he shows up with all these people and they just fucking jump her. And she's like afraid that she's gonna lose her bending. And then there's like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do that." And they're like, "We're not gonna do it yet." And then like Tenzin shows up and she was beat the fuck up and she's just like, "I'm sad," and she was crying she was scared shitless. She also cried when she lost her bending, or she thought she lost her bending. She also cried when a very emotional time when she was like captured by when the fuck did Korra cry more than Toph?
I don't remember Toph ever actually crying.
Toph has some like
Toph cried at least once, one memorable time, and that was
when
her
dad was being a dick and like told her she couldn't do something. That was like when I don't know if I remember Toph like even remotely crying.
There's that time, but then there's also
said, you know what, I'm ditching y'all. I'm out. I'm gonna do hang out with Avatar.
Yeah, there's that time, but there's also the time when she was falling off of the plane or whatever, and Sokka catches her. That's another time that I remember her crying.
Did I lose you guys? I know he's talking.
What?
Yep, I don't hear anything.
Oh. He muted him. He got us muted. But
Uh-oh.
oh, you got it, or you do not just not hear Malika?
It's just me.
I don't hear Malika.
Oh my god. So Malika
Can
was
you
saying,
still hear me?
yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay.
So Malika was saying that that the other memorable time where Toph cries is when she was about to die, falling off the blimp, falling off the airship.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's another time where it's a very similar trait. They're both about to die in their eyes. So I don't think it's like, I don't think it's unfair, or I think it's unfair to compare them, or to compare the crying and be like, oh, Korra cries for everything. It's like, no, she cried when she was in fucking mortal danger, and she was like, I think I'm about to die, or I think I'm about to lose my bending. And I think that, like, it's unfair to be like, yo, I know you were about to die, but you should fucking man the fuck up. Like, what? Like, they're all still young.
Also, she ended up in a fucking wheelchair, mind you.
Yeah, with the poison?
Like,
oh my god, dude.
Right, that's some shit to cry about.
Yeah.
She went into the she originally was fighting going into Avatar State, so whatever that poison did, I'm assuming was painful, because she looked like she was in fucking pain. I'm assuming it was painful, and she's like, the Avatar State will save me, but if I go into the Avatar State, they're gonna fucking kill me. So I can't go into the Avatar State, because she at that point is knowing that she's going to die, but internalizing that she can't go into the Avatar State because she knows the bond will be broken. So she needs to continue the line. We got Circulating Heart. Crying for Korra is in a scene that has relevant plot and character progression. She's not freaking woo.
Yeah. Yes, I love that.
Let's see, Gia says I had to bend the metal out of herself. She did have to bend the metal out of herself. And so, like, that's the thing. Like, she was willing to die as herself, knowing that the Avatar State would, like, fix her. And then after that, like, still rocked her way out of there on her own, fucking ripped those chains out, and, like, got to fighting and fought in the Avatar State, facing death, facing that same like air pulling that, like, oh shit, I can't remember his name right now.
Kill the Queen?
Yeah, the Killer Queen, dude.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. I don't know the name. I know what you're talking about.
What's his name? Why can't I remember it right now? Chat, help me out.
I'm bad at names. Unless they're the faves.
Zahir. It was Zahir. So Zahir did that whole thing where he was like pulling the air out of her. He was gonna kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Gia says, I think Toph cried, or at least was extra emo. The episode they got all made up and she was teased. That's true. She was really sad there. Like that was that episode where that was the Tales from Ba Sing Se episode, the one that made everybody cry. Like, I don't know how you can watch Avatar, cry yourself, and then be mad that someone in the show cried.
Right.
It was Zahir. Thank you, Gia. So, like, how can you do that? How can you be that person, right, who, like, cries watching Avatar and then be like, the Avatar cried too much? Like, what? Like, I bawled my eyes out watching Tales from Ba Sing Se and watching Iroh sing to his dead son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ugly cried.
And then finding out that was that voice actor's final episode.
Yeah.
Even more.
Yeah. That shit, like, it got me. Herculean Heart says, isn't Toph like 12 years old in the show? Like a literal child? Toph is tough as nails for a child. She absolutely is. She absolutely is. The Blind Bandit is an amazing character. I think that you know, she did a lot for being so young.
Right.
So that's something where I'm like definitely like, hey, give her the credit, right? But the way she acts is like, I think that's why I was especially happy to see her in season 4 to
But we
interact
do
with.
have to talk about the differences between a younger Toph and an older Toph, because I feel like somewhere along the way, Toph lost any of that like gentleness or anything that she's had, because it's gotten to the point where even her kids are just like, yeah, that's our mom, but like we barely like her.
Gia says, "How dare she cry because she was about to die? She's too emotional. Hide scene where Aang rages over Appa being muzzled."
I mean,
STI says, "Never seen Avatar in my life and don't plan on it. Just here for the support." Thank you, STI, for being here for the support. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. So I think that adult Toph, I think it's a natural progression of where Toph's character went, though, because she was a person who, like, just to compare the two stories, right? Young Toph is basically a person who is sheltered, to the point where her parents are too controlling. In the comics, she eventually she eventually makes up with her family, right? She meets up with her dad. You know, her dad still thinks that she can't do anything, and she's like, I fucking saved the world, but still she ends up getting right with her family. And then she grows up, she founds the town that eventually becomes Republic City. She leads the police force, right? And she has children who, because she was sheltered and her parents were overbearing, she decided to be the exact opposite of that, which I think is great, because the Avatar, in Avatar, we notice a lot of changes in how the avatars are born compared to their past lives. Something that they found as lacking in their last life is now in their next life. You know, let's see. Gigantor says, in all fairness, Aang was a child and Korra was a teenager going through a lot. So in a way where Aang was very relaxed, he was very fun loving, and he wanted to think on his actions. You know, he didn't want to kill Ozai. On the opposite side, we have Korra, who is reckless, who is impatient, who is decisive, right? In much the same way, we have Toph, whose parents were overbearing, and she didn't want to be controlled. When she raises her children, she then decides, no control. I will not interfere in your life, and I'll let you guys do whatever you want. So much so that her kids end up being wildly different. One vies for her attention by copying her exactly, and the other one vies for attention by being out there as a criminal. Yo, STI, thank you for the sub. Herculean Heart says, Toph in Korra has the hindsight of a full lifetime. She knows where she needs to push and when to step back. Kid Toph is still trying to show the world she is worthy, even when they only see a blind girl. Yeah, I agree with that. Gia agrees too. Let's see. Gia says, having a young kid, his anger outburst made absolute sense. Children have a harder time holding their emotions in. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it makes sense though. Like, I think that it's interesting to see how Toph made that change. I think it's interesting to see like how that goes. I also think, like, some people disagree. I think that Darnel maybe disagrees, but some people think that they can't imagine young Toph growing up to be a cop. And I personally think that that's a natural progression, because she's a person who grew up in the elites of Ba Sing Se. She grew up like knowing that there was corruption, knowing that there were issues, and watching how the Dai Li agents treated people incorrectly. And I think that she would be the type of person who says, fuck all of this. I'm going to make my own police force with blackjack and hookers and do it right.
I feel like she gave a cop, not because of really that, but because Aang. She's like, Twinkle Toes needs somebody to get, like, you know, beat somebody's ass. And I don't hear about beating people's ass.
Well, so she actually was very much the peacekeeper in that. So you didn't read the comics, but in the comics, she works in a mining town. She basically helps start a mining town with a dude that she was involved with, and they end up trying to protect it against bandits and other people that try to take over the place. So she's basically the protector of that town, and that town eventually becomes Republic City. And so she goes from being a protector to being chief of police once they form like a police, which is just a natural progression. If she's out there keeping bandits away every day, you know, that's the job. So when they make it official, they're like, okay, well, yeah, you're in charge. Right? And so she creates an academy. She trains people how to become metal benders, right? And so it's all her own hand-picked people that she knows that at least when she's in charge, would be above corruption. I think that makes natural sense for her. Just moving from the protector status to that next logical step as chief of police as the city grows. But let's see. Gia says, I'm gonna repeat it. Toph referring to Korra as Twinkle Toes will forever make me ugly cry. And yeah, the comics are a great resource to follow the Last Airbender group through adulthood. Yeah. Oh yeah, when she calls him Twinkle Toes, and it's not even that she says Twinkle Toes, she says nice to see you again. And it was the thing is like she felt that in her toes. She was like, there goes my buddy. She's like, I can't wait. She's like, I can't wait to fuck him up sparring. Oh, it was good stuff, man. So
disrespectful in that fight.
What?
She was disrespectful in that fight.
Oh, like, she was.
She fucked little Korra up.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about? Zuko? Zuko's character growth versus Korra's character growth, because I think that they very much mirror each other.
I feel like Zuko had more to make.
I think it's a challenge, but like mirror.
I think they do, like not in the sense of like evil to good, but they definitely have to grow and come to grips with their actions and travel a different path than what they originally thought they were.
I feel like Korra grew into herself more.
Okay, I'll give you that.
She started to realize that she had consequences and that her actions had consequences, and she realized that the more she went, whereas I feel like Zuko was just like, hey, yeah, I fucked up, but you guys have to forgive me because I'm the only one here that can help you.
I mean, he was still growing. Bear in mind, this was all a very short time for him.
Right.
Yes.
So Zuko's arc is a very good arc, I think. I don't think he's still, when he joined Team Avatar, he's still very impatient, right? Because his goals aren't 100% clear to him yet, because when he starts, right, to do good, he's like, well, what I can imagine is doing good is helping the Avatar. And he goes there to help them, and he's like, I don't know how to talk to them, and I don't know if they'll accept me, but I want them to. And so when they initially reject him, he's like, why won't you accept me? So, because he's impatient. So like that's how he is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't necessarily think it's like the biggest flaw, but it's not like great. But I think that he goes through he goes through facing the consequences of his actions,
Mhm.
right? And there's more to that even when we look at the comics as well, because there's not only is him trying to find out what happened to his mother, along with dealing with the fallout with Azula, but also we know that he works together with Suki, right? And there's bits of tension there too, as he's the one who burned down her fucking village.
Right.
Yeah.
Herculean Heart says both have the weight of the world on their shoulders. There are expectations of them placed on themselves by society and by their own idea of fulfilling those expectations. They each fail, make mistakes, and trust the wrong people before being who they need to be, not who they thought they should be. Damn, that's
Yeah.
legit. Gia says, for Zuko, it wasn't so much trusting the wrong people as it was he had to let go of trying to be accepted by his father. I will agree with that, but there's also parts of it, right? Like he was indoctrinated. When we go to the Fire Nation, we see the Fire Nation school. We know that they're indoctrinated with this false history. We know that when he speaks with his father, he's like, what a beautiful lie we were told. You know, we were told that we were helping people. You know, he trusted that. He trusted the group, right? Or he trusted his father. He trusted the Fire Nation. He trusted that what he was doing was righteous, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the thing. If it's for honor, right? If he's doing things to regain his honor, in his head, it's honorable to find and kill the Avatar,
Right.
right? And so, like,
Oh.
you're indoctrinated if your good thing is to kill somebody, and you believe it. Like you have to, you have to give him some credit in that he trusted the wrong people. I think. Now, let's see. I think when we look at Korra and her growth, I think that she faces a lot of consequences for her actions in a lot of the same way that Zuko does, but her consequences are farther reaching. Gia says yes, but he also disagreed with his father when he got his scarring, and at that point, right and wrong didn't matter to him as much as his father's approval. Yeah, I agree with that because at that point, like he was banished, right? So he wanted to he wanted nothing more than to be back at his seat, and I don't know if that necessarily meant that it was Daddy's approval or that it was, he had, being an outcast, and I don't know how that feels. I don't know how that feels to be like on the inside and then suddenly be on the out. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we're here. We're into it. Now, another big one from Herculean Heart. Zuko constantly tried to show that he was worthy of being the heir of the Fire Nation and worthy in the eyes of the Fire Lord. On the flip side, Korra is a child prodigy trying to fill the shoes of Aang instead of focusing on her own journey growth. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
That brings us back to Korra. I think one of the bigger issues that Korra has is that she consistently is trying to do everything. She wants to be the best Avatar right away.
Mhm. Right.
I think that she wants to be like number one. She wants to learn everything faster than everyone else, and she wants to fix everything as quickly as possible because she's the Avatar. The Avatar does things. Because this is 70 years after the 100-Year War is over, right? And so what she has in her shadow is a man that changed the world, that everyone still talks about, and there's a giant statue in Republic City for him. She grew up living next door to his wife, the best
Right.
waterbender in the world. Right? So she has that weight on her shoulders, along with being sheltered for most of her life. So when she finally comes to be and she's like, I've mastered firebending, waterbending, and earthbending so quickly. She moves on to airbending and she's like, oh, I fucking suck at this. And then along the way, she meets somebody who says, you know what? Benders ain't shit.
Right.
You know? And she has to deal with that. And not only does she have to deal with that, she deals with him being extremely dangerous, hurting all of her friends, and her failing at several steps along the way. She gets captured via bloodbending. She gets jumped because she was too reckless. She lost her bending. She finally only gets her bending back when she goes into the avatar state. Right? And you think like, oh shit, like that's a whole crazy thing, you know, but Amon also wasn't 100% wrong, so there still was change in the world, right?
Right.
Because then after that, there's a fucking president. The president didn't exist before Amon, so like,
Right.
did he bring about positive change? He did. Herculean Heart says a key scene that shows how out of place she is in the modern world is when she joins the pro bending and is failing at it. Yeah, I agree with that. You know, she didn't know the rules. I also think a great scene that shows where she's out of place is when she gets arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was just like, oh, here are bandits. Here is an issue. I can solve this. And she does, and they're like, you're going to jail for property damage. She's like, the fuck?
Right.
I think that there's more to it, you know, as well. When she learns about spirit bending, when she learns the truth about the past avatars, after just finding out how to communicate with them and how to learn
Right.
from their stories, she loses that ability. Right? I think that there's a lot of consequences that Korra has to deal with because, you know, there's the fallout from Amon. There is her horrible lovemaking decisions. Right?
Yeah.
There's the fallout from opening both portals.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which creates the airbenders, but also creates all of the vines. Right? So there's all those issues there. Those vines lead to other issues. Kuvira, right? Failing to stop Zahir in time. Right? Multiple times she failed to kill Zahir in time, or to stop Zahir. Which then leads to the Earth Queen dying. Right? Chaos in Ba Sing Se.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That opens a door for Kuvira. Right? She failed to stop Kuvira after she almost died from Zahir. Right? We in a simple like, yo, we're gonna fight, and if you beat me, I'll just stop. And like, I don't know if Kuvira would have actually stopped. Like, I don't think she was that honest.
Read the comics; they bring her back.
I mean, in that scenario, I don't think she
Mhm.
would have stopped. And so I don't think she was that honest in that scenario. I think that even if she
Mhm.
lost, she would have been like, I'm still doing
Kept
the
going.
right thing.
Yeah.
So because she loses, you know, Kavira is able to move on with having her, you know, working on her spirit weapons, you know, and there's a lot of failure along the way for Korra. And I think that she has to grow and deal with her consequences. Not every decision she makes is
Mhm.
right. You know, which is why in season 4 she's just like, I don't know if I should be involved because everything I do goes wrong.
Right.
So like, I don't know, man. I don't know why people hate Korra. I fucking love Korra.
Here's a hot take. It's because she's a woman.
Possibly. I think that I think that that's possible, but there are also women that hate on Korra, and unless they're hating on her because she's a woman, Like I think there has to be like other reasons, you know. So I'm not saying that that's not true. I know for some people it would be true. There's also people that are upset that she's, you know, darker than Aang, which is dumb.
Right.
But you know that it just is. She is what she is. You know, so I'm not gonna debate those
people. Are so used to having Avatar: The Last Airbender that when Legend of Korra came around, they just weren't ready for it.
Here's my thing: it's cool she's a woman, but also people give shit to Katara all the fucking time, and she's a crier too with the whole "my mama's dead." And
okay, but like, Zuko does the same thing. That's where it comes into it's because she's a woman. So if a woman does it, it's because she's weak. She's a crier. But then Zuko did it, and they're like, he's just angry.
Hercules.
Like, that's why they bonded, because Zuko cried about his mom being dead.
Hercules Heart says, one of the interesting things and what Korra ultimately learns is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. All the bad guys tried to change the world, but didn't care the damage they caused along the way. I mean, that's true. A lot of these guys, like, one of the things that I really like about what?
Oh yeah, they had good ideas, just very
exactly, and I think that's one of the things I like more about Korra versus Last Airbender, because in Last Airbender, Ozai is just like, I'm gonna commit genocide and take over the world. I don't care. You know, he's a villain. He's a villain, right? Aang doesn't want to kill him, but everybody's like universally he's a villain, right? When it comes to the villains in Legend of Korra, like Amon was right. There was an imbalance in power. Benders have power over non-benders, and Zahir was right that people shouldn't be serving kings and queens. There should be representation, like there should be like people-based representation. Like it shouldn't just be like, oh, we serve people, you know. Kuvira was right in the same way. No more monarchy. Let's unite our people, and you know, just she went about it with a super weapon. You know, Unalaq wanted to rejoin the spirit world and the human world, which was ultimately a good and righteous choice, but he didn't care who got hurt in the process. Let's see. Herculean Heart says, a lot of people had the expectation of Legend of Korra being more Airbender, and when it wasn't like Airbender, they got pissed. Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of people were just like, I wanted more of the same, but now they're like, everybody's older and they deal with more adult shit, and it's, why is it no longer happy-go-lucky?
Right.
And it was definitely happy-go-lucky. Now, this is Airbender is a classic hero journey. You have clear good guys and bad guys. Also has to do with showing morality to a much younger audience. Korra's audience is older teens. Her story is their personal journey and learning the adult lesson that morality is gray. Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely what we were just saying. 100%.
Yep.
So, one thing that we discussed a little earlier in passing before we started up the stream was that Legend of Korra is a really gay show, and I said it really wasn't a gay show because I didn't think they were brave enough. But you, Malika, you love that. You love.
I love it. I live for it.
Yeah. Now.
But also, it's Nickelodeon, so I get why it wasn't as gay as it could have been.
Why they didn't show all the gay?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there was like decent. I think that they had the opportunity to go full on, and I'm upset that they didn't.
Definitely.
And I think one of the reasons that I was upset about it, and I had explained this to you earlier, was that it wasn't there. The ships existed. Herculean Heart says Korrasami with exclamation points. Oh, 100%. That's you're Malika's type right there. You're bonding with Malika right now, Korrasami. So here's the thing: Korrasami was a very popular ship. However, one of the things that really upset me at the time was that I didn't see a lot of Korrasami like evidence. there's a lot of stuff where it's like it can be like implied and it can be like insinuated, but they never touch on it. They never touch on it. And I think it's a big failing of the show. I think that the show, you know, we have people make the joke that like Korra walked so that She-Ra could run.
Yes.
Right? People make that joke, and I disagree. I think that She-Ra walked because I think that She-Ra had a lot of things like in a lot of the same way where they had like implications that weren't necessarily clear. I think for She-Ra it was a long time coming that like people really read into it, and it wasn't until that final payoff where you finally got to see the kiss where it was confirmed. And I think that's what Korra was lacking.
Was missing.
I think if Legend of Korra had that kiss, you know, instead of that fade as they go into the portal, I think that itself would have lended more credence. That would have been Korra walking to pave the way for other shows to be more open.
Instead, we got stuck with the trash bin that is Mako.
Oh my god! Like
y'all know how much I despise Mako.
Mako is trash. Okay, first of all, so
I said they're all trash.
So they all are trash except for Bolin. I love Bolin. Herculean's Heart says, okay, one thing I wish Legend of Korra had done was longer seasons because they didn't have the breathing room to fully flesh out a lot of personal relationships. Airbender has the room to just focus on characters for some episodes. Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
You know, remember when Toph was like, do I get to go on my life-changing journey with Zuko?
Yeah.
Like, all of you guys went to go on your life-changing like journey with Zuko. Like, where's my life-changing field trip? I want to go. Right. You know, because they had that room to take that journey and to have those episodes, and Korra didn't have the time to explore all of that because they only did 12 episodes per season. You know, but yes, Bolin.
I just want a better telling of the fucking assassin, the fucking dude who poisoned her. Like that storyline could have been way better if it was like more room. Yeah, they could have
done a lot better with that. I agree. So, Bolin is the only person who I think is a passable human being. In Team Avatar. Okay. Because Jinora is also great. So, Bolin is good. He's okay. I think that Korra is trash. I think that Mako is trash. Now, we're talking about their love lives right now. We're out here talking about Bolin good. Mako was trash because not only did he kiss Korra when he was dating Asami, right? Or Korra kissed him. He did that knowing that his brother was in the Korra, right?
Right.
Then later, he leaves Korra. He dumps her, right? Then he starts seeing Asami almost immediately, right? And when Korra comes back and she's like, I have no memories, he's like, it wasn't a big fight. I think we're good. And he just goes right back to kissing her. And Asami's like, what the fuck? Like, he did it in front of Asami. The savage.
Even Bolin was like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
He's like, I thought... He's like, I thought you were the... He's like, I thought you were the expert in ripping off Band-Aids.
Right.
Herculean Heart says, Korra likes the idea of Mako. She fangirled over him at Pro Bending, but when she actually deals with him, she's like, oh yeah, this isn't working for me because we suck together. Yeah, no, they did go through all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mako's trash. Asami's trash. I think Asami, the only thing that she does that makes her like a little redeeming is that she's the one that goes to Korra and says, I have a confession. And she lets her know. So,
yeah.
Like, Herculean Heart says, Mako is a douche. He's such a trash man. Dude.
Yep.
Okay, Herculean Heart, you and Malika are going to be best friends. You guys agree
plot twist, we already are.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
It's like you guys are already following each other back on Twitter. Like you guys are DMing right now about it.
yeah, actually, I've known them since San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're out here, like we're out here. They're all trash except for Bolin. Bolin is a perfect himbo, and I love him. He must be protected at all costs. He just learned lava bending.
Right.
So,
Okay, but who is the most trifling character in all of Legend of Korra?
in all of Legend of Korra,
Mm-hmm.
Pema.
Yeah.
Pema. Pema was like, I like you. I don't give a fuck about your girlfriend. And she stole him.
She did.
Stole his ass.
She snatched him up and put a ring on it.
Okay, in all this, can we say the writers are trash for going for the overplayed idea of two girls fighting over a guy who isn't worth it? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yeah,
agree.
Definitely.
So what do you think the show needed to have more representation?
Time. They needed more time. They needed more episodes. They needed more organization. They just needed the network to have the faith in them that they put in Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Okay. And so what could they have done in that show? So I think for me it's an issue because it doesn't exist anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if Korrasami happened, it'd still be the first instance we see on screen of representation. Right? In the entire like world.
Yeah.
So like I think that it would have been, you know, if they had normalized it in any other way beforehand, it would have been better for me. Because like, let's loop back to your other show, She-Ra. Right? Because there are parents in that show that are same sex.
Right. There's Bo's parents, but there's also Spinnerella and Natasha.
Right.
That are a married couple.
Right. So because there's that representation already exists, it's normalized in that world.
Right.
Which means that you know, they already laid the groundwork that it was a possibility. Which is why, you know, it's a thing. I think that when you have no representation even in the background, I think that's where it's lacking. And I'm not saying this from a perspective of like LGBTQ, because that's not like I'm not a member of that. I can't say that representation matters, but as a person of color, I can say that if you can't even have like a person of color in the background, I have no hope to see representation in the foreground. Like, you have to start somewhere. Like, like I would love to have seen in Korra, like why are there no like gay shop owners? Why are there no like why isn't there like anywhere else like that? And it's interesting because I think there's like there's a big lack. See, I need freaking Netflix to stop trying to do a live action Airbender and give the money and attention to Korra so we can get a properly written show. They want a darker, more violent, and more grown-up Avatar. Korra is the obvious choice. Absolutely. Yes. I think if they were gonna try to
pay all my money to see that.
If they were gonna do an adult live action, like Malika, you'd already cast it. You have all the TikTok cosplayers that you'd be like, oh, I already know who would be best.
Yeah.
You follow all of them already.
I do. Yeah, I could think of a few right off the top of my head.
Like you're just out there following all the Korrasami thirst trap accounts, and you're just like, ma'am.
The exposure is real.
Oh my god.
You don't hide it. Look at your Twitter account.
You know, hold on, let's see. Uh,
I have a question.
I'm gonna put this out of there because oh, Jesus, I'm throwing a.
You should have yours.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me.
What are you throwing out there?
Oh, I threw a little. I threw a little chat thing out there. It said, "Call an ambulance, but not for me." It's because I burned Malika so hard.
You're fired.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Other thing is,
Shoot.
is Korra, Legend of Korra, or the Avatar, Last Airbender, are any of them anime?
Yes. 100%.
I would consider them anime.
Now I know chat's gonna start
I
going wild
agree.
right now because they don't
Okay.
agree. You said you don't agree, Darnel?
No, I agree.
Oh,
They're
okay.
anime.
Okay. Can we talk about Boomy? I feel like Boomy is a gay man, and they just didn't want to go there.
You never seen the girl.
I think Boomy was a very I don't know if he was gay. I think he explored everything. But it's very
So
interesting
yeah,
that he
okay.
he talks about he talks a lot about his like platoon and his soldiers and stuff like that, and he always has like a war buddy he tells stories about. So I think he might have been involved with a war buddy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So touching back on the anime bit, right?
Okay.
So I've seen a lot of people make a lot of arguments as to why Avatar's not, and I know that we're all in agreement here, but I want to touch on some of the things that I really think is dumb about the argument. So first of all, they'll say that anime has to be an animated series made in Japan, intended for a Japanese audience, and that's a terrible definition for anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So back a few years ago, that was that big controversy when Reddit took down a music video that they tried to argue wasn't anime because it wasn't made in Japan. But like, it's a lot of people like to argue whether or not Avatar is an anime, and the problem is like, you know, first of all, they're not arguing; they just come out there. And instead of having back and forth, they're just like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's not because it's not from Japan. It's just like, okay, well, that definition of anime is just unworkably bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your definition is too narrow that it doesn't account for common or general uses of the word, or so broad that it encompasses things that the word never refers to in common usage, then it fails as a definition. You know, and that's something that I got from Mother's Basement back in the couple years ago. He made a video about it. But basically, a lot of people try to say that, like, oh, it needs to be based on a manga or it needs to be a series made in Japan. It's like, okay, well, if it's not a series, if it has to be based on a series, and you're saying that, like, Your Name isn't an anime. You're saying that, like, Promare isn't an anime. Weathering with You is not an anime. You're saying that, like, music videos like Me aren't anime. That's dumb. Like, common anime are not included. Then they say it needs to be based on that it needs to have a manga. That it needs to be based on a manga. Okay, so Cowboy Bebop, Gurren Lagann, Psychopath, Yuri on Ice, Code Geass, Sword Art Online, No Game No Life, fucking Tower of God. None of those are based on manga. Like, so those definitions don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, okay, well, you know, it needs to be made in Japan for a Japanese audience. Okay, well then you're saying Samurai Champloo isn't not Samurai Champloo, Afro Samurai isn't an anime. It was a passion project for Samuel L. Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
That's clearly an anime. I feel that, like, one of the big things is that, like, people try to shoehorn in their definition, and I think that what really qualifies is that, you know, if you sit down and say you're going to watch an American anime, you have a certain few shows that come to mind and know exactly what someone means when they say that. And if you say that I want to, if internally you say I want to watch some anime, and you sit down and you watch a show and it scratches that itch, then I think it counts as an anime. And I think that if you say I want to watch an anime and watch Avatar, I think that counts. But that's enough of my soapbox. I was just like, I'm surprised no one in the chat's arguing. But that's really like, that's a thing for me, man. I hate seeing it. But I digress. What else did you want to cover on this? You think Boomy's gay?
I think we talked.
Let me review our notes real quick.
Is it an anime covered?
Yeah, I know we had a.
Can we talk about Momo being the only one with good mental health?
Hey, there's the fucking polar bear dog.
That is true, but I don't know. I feel like
Do you feel like Appa doesn't have good mental health because he was kidnapped?
that had a lasting effect on him. We even saw it. All right, he went through some trust issues. He went through some
Appa was
abandonment
slave.
issues.
Appa became a
Like,
slave.
he was abused.
Appa had some issues.
Right.
Okay, what about Pavo?
Pabu, you mean?
Yeah, Pavu. Whatever his name is.
The stress of being a movie star.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm kidding.
Get out of here.
Motherfucking diva.
Get
Look,
outta here.
alright.
You're
Bolin
done.
has all of 2 brain cells, and they belong to Pabu.
Yeah, you're done. All right. So,
Pabu was the brains of the team, okay?
all right, let's talk out
Say the day millions of times.
let's talk out one we're going to catch flack for. So,
Uh-oh.
we have 3 fighters on each side, okay? Zuko, Aang, and Toph versus Korra, Bolin, and Mako. Who takes the cake?
Team Toph.
Team Toph. Okay, oh, hold on. Herculean Heart says, so thoughts on Kurosami, canon or not? I asked because a showrunner on another show said that it wasn't canon if we don't see the ship kiss / have sex on screen, then it doesn't count, even if they are shown in other official media. So that's something we kind of talked about a little earlier, and I think that we have differing opinions on that. So Malika believes that it's canon.
It's definitely canon, because, okay, if the comic books never touched on it, if the graphic novels never touched on it, if it was just left at that, then I'd be like, okay, well, this is just a fan thing. Like, it's just in my head. But the fact that the writers and creators then moved on to do the graphic novels and explicitly said, hey, they are a couple, they kiss, they're in love, this is it, that's what made it canon.
Yeah,
Because
think
it was
that,
done by the same people who did the TV show.
Yeah,
And if they had a different network, it would have been, if they had a different network, or if they had the ability to do so, they would have made it canon in the TV show.
I think that if it's canon in any official media, it's canon. However, where I disagree would be in cases of if they only like explicitly said in interviews, like for example, you know, Harry Potter, right? So in Harry Potter, there's no actual reference to Dumbledore being gay. All we have is J.K. Rowling telling us that he's gay after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that even though they don't show the kiss in the show, if they show the kiss in comics, it still counts. As long as it's in official media. I think that if there's censorship, right? If censorship blocked them from showing the kiss, that's one thing, right? If you say that like Nickelodeon wouldn't let them put it in, because I think it'd be different if they said, "Hey, we animated it and we threw it in there, and at the last minute they edited it out because it was our last day and we said fuck it," you know, like that'd be different. Because then I'd be like, okay, well, where's the director's cut? I want to see that. And we all know by damn sure now that shit would have came out.
Right.
There would have been a director's cut DVD like Korrasami actually kissing. But I don't think that they actually went that far. But to do so in the comics, absolutely fine. And I'll count that as canon because I count the comics as canon. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers your question, Herculean Heart. Now, back to the fight. You say Team Toph. I also say Team Toph because I feel like Zuko and Mako are pretty evenly matched in terms of skill.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that Bolin in no way holds up to Toph.
The only thing he has is the lava bending that can throw her for a loop, and that's about it.
And I think that, I do think that if Toph faced lava bending and she'd never faced it before, it could throw her off, right? Because she can't see. And if he is able to successfully melt the area around her, like that's something where you can seriously take advantage of that, possibly. But Bolin's not that type of fighter, so he
Right.
wouldn't. You know? That's like saying, oh, Batman can win a fight if he just kills people. This is like, well, yeah, but he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, he kind of does, but
depends on the medium that we're talking about. Because there's a lot of in a lot of movies, he just blows shit up at random. So of course that's gonna kill people. It's explosions. But you know, if we're talking like canon,
I was just talking about fucking roof.
yeah. Bolin wouldn't dare
Everybody's
attack
getting a broken
Toph.
leg.
He'd be crying with joy at being in her presence. I think
That's true.
That is true. And I think
Like,
that
he looked just to be a fangirl.
Yeah.
so I think that Korra could be Aang, but Korra could not be Toph.
Right.
Facts.
So I think that because Toph can wash all three of them together.
Team Top would win.
Yep, absolutely. Now I know that that's like someone out there is gonna say blasphemy because I'm saying that Korra can beat Aang, but like Aang don't got energy bending. Aang doesn't have metal bending.
If you think about it, she's an extension of him as far as like him being the past avatar, so she knows everything that he knows, plus all that she's learned extra. So she knows his fighting style. She knows.
Well,
she's basically him,
she's
but
seen
better.
his fighting style. She doesn't know it, and it depends on like at what stage because she had a really hard time with airbending.
Right.
But like if we're assuming final stage for all of them, you know, then we can argue that I would say that, you know, she's definitely going to be able to surpass him for sure. He's going to be a better airbender than her, but she's a better bender overall. I think she's a better fighter.
Well, yeah, she was trained in fighting. That's the thing. It's like Aang kind of just uses things that he's learned and applies it to the situation, versus she's trained in actual fighting.
Yeah, I
So-
think that if she, I think looking at some of the fighting that she did, like man, when she goes in that first fight right against the fire dudes, the firebenders. And she like flips over them. She just slightly taps their foot so that they're off when they're like It's like, damn, like yo, you got moves, girl. Moves I ain't see Aang do. Aang's like, oh, I'm a dodge. Like I'm a roll around in this ball, and he's like, want to see this trick? Ah.
Can we talk about how Avatar Kyoshi is definitely made Korra her favorite? Kyoshi's like, yes, my murdered child.
You think so?
I think if she were to talk to any of the past avatars, Kyoshi would be like, you are my favorite.
So, do you?
Because she's
Is
got
your
her
is your
fighter.
head canon that Kyoshi is like this savage ass like.
She's a boss ass bitch.
Okay, so for you, Kyoshi is that bitch. It's really interesting because like Kyoshi in the show is just like there cannot be justice, without peace, or there can't be peace without justice, something like that. And like everybody else's interpretation is like kill that motherfucker today.
No, Kyoshi was the one who was like, murder the bitch.
No, she was like, I see no difference in whether he killed himself or I killed him. The fact is he died. Right? Sakura is a prodigy with bending. We're introduced to her at her young age, and she already has 3 bending skills. Kyoshi loves Korra. She must have loved Korra being decisive at doing what needed to be done. Wait a minute. Malika, I think right now, with the way that you're hyped and you are like into this,
Don't start that.
You crush on Kyoshi too, don't you? Nah. You know what? Hold on. Boom. I'm throwing this in the chat. You've activated my trap card.
I hate you.
Oh God.
Look, I love me a woman who looks like she could choke me out, and I'd be okay with it.
Ma'am.
Go to jujitsu class, woman. Damn.
Avatar Kyoshi, Avatar Korra, Kaya, Kimura, all of them.
Hey, all
I'm
right,
just here for all of them.
Put a finger down challenge right now. All right. Put a finger down if you either out loud or in your head has asked a woman to step on you in the past week. Ma'am.
Hey, this is for Nerds in the Dark after dark, okay?
We're still streaming.
Like, this is for pay only. That's our only fans figured out.
Okay. With that, I
Out
think that
here
we're done for
exposing
today.
me.
Thank you so much for everybody that joined. Thank you for everybody that joined in the chat and spoke with us. Big thank you to Herculean Heart for being so active in the chat. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate everybody. If you're still
Big
watching
thanks.
and you have not followed us, please follow us. We're trying to hit that number 100 follow. We're so close. We're at 93, and you don't have to, but please consider subscribing. It helps keep us producing more content, and we're working on a bunch of new emojis that we want to put into the channel. So as soon as we unlock the next set, we're going to be putting out some new emojis. So please help us out with that if you can. But otherwise, we're going to be back with another discussion sometime soon. I think the next subject is going to be the Men of Marvel being trash. I think that was the subject we talked about.
I was going to say men in general are trash, but yeah.
Facts. But we're going to be going over that the next time. Should be either 1 week or 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll post about a schedule for that. But thank you guys for joining us. And we'll see you next time. You can follow all of us on social media. The info's below our names. We have Poop on a Window in the top left, Darnel. We have Geeky Mika on the top right. That's Malika. And then you have me down at the bottom right here. I am Mikie Cool in everywhere that you can find me. And you can follow us as a group at Nerds in the Dark. So thank you guys so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.